Welcome to the Athletes Health Podcast here, talking, interviewing to athletes, coaches, role models, anyone we can learn some tips, tricks, tools from, specifically in that mental performance realm. And I was looking at some people down in Kansas City because don't even know if I told you this, Liam. I'm going to be going down to Kansas City in a couple of weeks. I think I did tell you that, but
Yeah, you
so I
did.
really wanted to try and connect with some people down there. And I stumbled upon your PAC basketball program, and it really intrigued me, dude. So I was wondering if you want to just give a quick intro of yourself, how you got into basketball first and foremost, because I love to hear the stories of just the sport in general. And then we'll see
Yeah,
what
for
happens.
sure. Yeah, my name is Liam Woulfe. I run PAC Basketball here out of Kansas City. We play on the PUMA circuit, the Pro 16, and next circuit. What kind of got me into basketball? I always kind of grew up watching KU basketball, being around
Yeah.
Kansas, and
Okay.
going to camps when I was younger. But the biggest thing that kind of got me into basketball was my parents at a young age put me on a team. So I live in a Johnson County area is where I grew up in Kansas City, and it's there's a lot of rich history in Kansas City. Like in the past, like there's a lot of like segregation back in way back when, not now. Like everything's good now, but
Yeah.
as history's gone, I was in a predominantly white school, and my parents wanted me to make sure I was around a bunch of different backgrounds and different types of kids. So they put me on a team from kind of like the Missouri side, Kansas City, Missouri side, and just to find different cultures and be immersed with different people, and that's kind of where I first fell in love with basketball, was meeting different people from that didn't necessarily look like me at a young age, and understanding when you're a kid, you don't see that stuff. But
Yeah.
looking back,
Yeah.
I appreciate my parents putting me in that situation, because there's a lot of kids in this area and around the whole country, it happened, that don't get that opportunity. And so then going into PAC, that's kind of what part of one of our biggest things is bringing different people from all different demographics together, to show that, in this world where there's a lot of people that butt heads, that you can find common goals, and maybe at that moment winning a basketball game, but later on in life working together and stuff like that. So that's kind of what got me into basketball, I guess, was that. But I love basketball. I love playing it. I played it, played in high school, played at a small college, the University of St. Mary in Leavenworth, Kansas. It's an NAI. Ended up coaching there for a couple of years when I was done. Coached at a small high school as well. And then now I'm at probably one of the most historic basketball high schools. I'm one of the assistant coaches at Blue Valley Northwest High School in the area. So that's like where Christian Brown went. He's an NBA champion for the Nuggets. So yeah, there's a lot of big time players that come out of that school. So it's cool to be a part of that history now too.
Dude, that is so cool to hear, because I just graduated from Iowa State, so a little bit of blood there, Iowa State, Kansas, but nonetheless, what's your because basketball is my favorite sport too. I mean, I'm making the athletes health for all sports, because I feel like all sports need the mental health performance
For sure.
realm, but I know basketball the most, and I'm getting in with basketball the most right now. What was your kind of journey from actually being done with high school and then getting into the college, and then how did that transition into coaching first and foremost? Because I'm really starting to figure out that I love talking to the athletes, but it's almost like the coaches, there's so much insight in the coaches. So I'm really curious kind of how that transition.
Yeah, for sure. So I went to a high school that was, also known for having a lot of star-studded guys. I played behind a couple NBA guys, which was really cool. But when you're in high school and I've always been told that I always tell myself I'm never going to be outworked in anything I do. And so when I was playing in high school, these other kids would just get the nod, and yeah, they're probably better players, but I would get always mad because they'd show up late, they wouldn't do things, and I didn't have the best coaches when I was in high school. They honestly, looking back at it now as a coach, they kind of taught me the wrong way to do things, which I think I learned more from them than some of my mentors that have helped me a ton as well. But like I strictly remember like I was never like first in sprints, but I always worked hard that I'd never miss a time and I never skip a line, like I never that. And like they'd always be like, oh, Liam missed a line, Liam did this. And like when you're around high school boys, like they'll be like, dude, what the heck? Like, and like, cause then everyone's got to run again. I'm like, dude, I didn't miss a line. Like I don't skip lines and all that. And you know, I've never actually like really talked about this much, but you talk about like the importance of mental health. But I always use basketball as an escape for my mental health, right? Like
Right.
if something's going on, like basketball is always my like, hey, like you can like take the baggage off, like you get an hour on the court, whatever it is. But when I was in high school, it like was really becoming the thing that was causing like stress in my life. Like I just was like, I can't do anything right. Like I'm working my butt off. Like what do I do? Like these coaches are just demeaning. Like I remember they had all the guards like doing like one-on-one drills, stuff like that. And I'm over here doing like mic and layup. I'm like, come on guys.
Dang. Really?
And like, they were just like, if you weren't like 6'5", like, you know, they didn't care about you. And I'm just like, dude, what the heck? Like, and you know, I've always been like the guy that like kind of was like, you don't say anything, you don't talk back, like taught the right way. Like you don't ever talk back to a coach. Like it's kind of like their way or the highway. But in reality, it's really like not. You got to be able to have a good relationship with your coach. And so like I was gonna be done with playing basketball, and this kind of leads into like my
Yeah.
organization a little bit. Like I was gonna be done playing basketball, and my uncle actually told me, he told me like two things. He heard I was gonna quit, I was gonna hang it up, I was done,
And
and
when
he
was
told
that?
me
Like just after high school, you were going to be
I was
done?
like a
Or
junior in high school is
okay.
when I was gonna like just be done. And he told me, he said two things. He's like, you always gotta, you know, he said, he pointed at my head and then pointed at my heart, and he was like, you always gotta think smart, but you always gotta lead with your heart. Um, and then he told me PAC. So PAC stands for passion, attitude, and confidence.
Uh-huh.
And he said P is the love of the game, like what you love, and he's like for me it was baseball. Like he's a baseball coach. He's like, you know, it's the love of what I do, and in you can be a job, a relationship, whatever it might be, right? Um, and so that is like the love of, you know what I mean? Like it's your love of whatever it
Yeah.
might be. And then
No,
A
that's
is
what you needed.
and it's like you have to have the right attitude. If you have the right attitude, you can accomplish any problem that's in front of you, like get through any problem. And then C is confidence, which is what I was struggling with the most, was like my self-confidence. And it's like, you know, confidence in yourself, confidence in your teammates, your coaches, and for us, like confidence like in the man above. And so he's like, when you put all three of those together, you get packed. He's like, and you can get through, you can accomplish anything. And he doesn't mind me sharing it now, but like he's been battling cancer for 12 years. And so like when I was a junior in high school, I was like, okay, this dude can get through battling cancer every day, then I can get through, you know, some struggle with basketball, some struggle in life. And so I actually decided to, you know, continue playing. Ended up getting my scholarship to play at the college I went to. And then like a few years into college, I was just kind of getting burnt out a little bit. Like, so I actually started um, coaching a team through my church with my dad.
Okay.
Like when I was like a senior in high school, and no, it was when I was a junior, and it was my junior year. My dad was, I think, trying to get me out of my funk a little bit, and he was like, "Hey, let's go coach like, you know, a little third grade team or whatever." But it actually ended up being, you know, like the seventh grade top team or whatever it was. Fun, like kind of being on the flip side of things, right? And
Yeah.
you know, because I always say you can see basketball in four different ways, right? You can see it as a player, you can see it as a fan or like a parent, is what I say, and I would say I'm not ready to see it like that. You can see it as a coach and as an official, and I've seen it. My dad made me ref when I was younger to respect officials. You know, I've seen it as a player, and like being able to see it as a coach, like you see it all different ways. So coaching 13 through our church, and then we always joked about like kind of like making an AAU program and doing things the right way, because there's a lot of programs out there that just want to benefit off the kids, and that's something that we totally don't want to do. Like I want to help young men, help players become great young men, help them play at the highest level possible. Like I haven't made a dime through this, but you know, and that's not the reason I do it. Like there's some people that's like their business and that's their livelihood, and I understand that. But for me, it's just about like helping young men become great players, become better young men in the community, because I love this area. And so that's why, like, when I was 18, I was a senior in high school, I started PAC. Like, we started it.
Yeah.
It was like just one team at first, and then, so then I was playing and coaching at the same time. And I got to like a kind of a crossroad where it was like I was starting to get some like pretty good players or some guys that I think could play in college. And it was either like I was still playing in college. Like, do I like continue playing and work this summer like fully on myself, or do I work this summer on like the young men I coach, and like try to help them play in college? And I ultimately decided to go the coaching route and hang them up. But the Coach Brown up at St. Mary like offered me a spot to continue. Like, he asked me to like continue playing, or like to continue as like a student assistant and like help out like the team. He's like, "You ever thought about wanting to coach in college?" And I was like, never really crossed my mind. So I did that for like a year, coached at that small high school up in right outside of Leavenworth, and then Coach Brown actually called me. He was like, "Hey, I have a graduate assistant position open. Like, it'll pay for your master's. Like, come coach." And I was gonna do either like occupational therapy or like this and this, but then COVID happened and took basketball away, and I realized how much I loved it. So I decided to get my master's in business. And to be honest, like, I sat in the back of most of my classes and just watched basketball. I passed them all, but
Yeah,
like
that's
I
all you need.
basketball. I don't remember much from my master's, except like I always make jokes like I can't tell you anything about business, but I can tell you how to guard a ball screen. Uh, and so that's kind of led into like coaching in college. And when that happened, I could really focus on my club, and my club's going crazy. Like last year, we had
Yeah.
over 250 kids sign up for tryouts. We had 8 teams. We had 3 teams on the circuit, and had a ton of success this year. So that's kind of how I got into coaching and kind of how it's grown. And so it's been a wild ride. And I always tell myself like 18-year-old Liam, when he first started it, would never thought he'd be like talking to you here or anything like that. So it's been a great journey, and it's been a blessing.
Well, dude, let me just say your head and your heart definitely have to be in the right place. And that was one of the things I saw too when I saw your program and how it looked different than other programs. It just seemed like you were growing something that really, really, really did actually care for the kids and the development. And because how old are you, dude?
I'm 26, so we just finished like year 7 up. So I guess I kind of started when I was like 18, 19. So like we had the idea when I was 18, like really kind of got it going, turned 19 that summer. So yeah.
And okay, so I gotta back you up just a little bit because I'm wondering about a few things, and then
Yeah.
I think I think I know the answers, but it'll tie to your coaching now, which we'll definitely get into. But how did you back in the day get that confidence back up? Was it through you started coaching, you started to see the game through a different lens, or and maybe there isn't one thing, but just
I
thoughts
think
about that in
I
general?
think it was a combination of, I had a really good support system with my family. And then like my uncle telling me that, like, so I started living, like trying to live by the values of passion, attitude, and confidence. And then I really kind of dove deep in my faith. I always like played for like a faith-based AAU program. And then I also had always, like, for me, like I'd always had a relationship with God, but I was never like that close with God. And I really, like, my junior year and my senior year, I really kind of got like really close with God. I have a really good like personal relationship with God, and I'm a firm believer, like I was raised Catholic, but like I don't like it's not like I just have Catholic kids in my AAU
Yeah,
program. Like, I think like if you can, because I also like my junior year, I had a really cool teacher, and took a really cool class. It was like world religion, and it was really cool learning about how different types of like faith and background like all kind of tie together and like have similar like commonalities. And so me finding, I also went on like a retreat called Kairos. And so
Hmm.
Kairos stands for, and it's kind of how I try to live my life, is another word like in Greek. Like, there's different words for like love, like agape and stuff like that. And There's different words for time as well. So there's like chronos, which is like calendar time, like, hey, it's like 3:30 on Monday, the 7th or 8th or whatever it is. Yeah. And like calendar time kind of rules the world, right? Like you work from this time to this time, or like you're off on the weekends, like on this day and this day, like. And then there's kairos, which means God's time, and it's about like measuring life in moments rather than like by like, hey, by this time do this and this. And so for me, like I try to like measure life in moments, and it's impossible because like you have to work from a certain time like all the time, but like I really try to like find the joy in like not necessarily like just like, hey, this is the time you have to do this, but like, hey, you're finding like moments to kind of make your stepping stones rather than just like time. So that was something huge with me. And then, like you said, like kind of coaching with that church group, like being able to find joy in basketball again, like that was like the thing I found joy in, was like being able to help other kids, their kids, like they're seventh
Yeah.
graders, like finding like helping seventh graders like find joy in basketball and like training them. And like I remember there was a few young men that like they made like a move in the game, right? And then they like look at me afterwards and like you find that joy, and that's like kind of what sparked it back up for me, like to put the fire back in me for basketball. So yeah.
Dude, well, one thing that it seems like, and you kind of hit on the nail, and from my view, it seems like this might also what help your program so much. It seems like any athlete or anyone going through some stuff who
I think you might have
has,
you might have, I think you froze on me for a second. What'd you say?
I was just saying, so I was saying, and we'll relay this to your program. I want to hear how you kind of deliver faith in what you're doing. And because I won't say faith as in God, like you said, but just in any faith, almost put in whatever happens isn't only on me. Like there's something else out there helping me out. It seems like every athlete who I've talked to who has made it somewhat successful in whatever that means for them, they have that faith, dude, which is really cool to hear you say that. And so how do you implement it with your program? I was curious about that.
Yeah, so I always I always there's a lot of times like when I first started PAC, I would always start with like a prayer or something like that, or I'd have like a young man lead in the prayer. And I went away from that a little bit just because I had a young man approach me like, hey coach, that kind of like makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, can I stay out of that? And I was like, okay, like I was like, maybe there's other ones. So I always like will actively like be upfront and tell people like, hey, like I talk about God in my program. Like if that's not for you, like you don't have to listen, you don't have to do that. Like, but I don't like make them pray. Like I guess I kind of used to. Like they were in the huddle. But for me, it's like I always will talk about God. And I always say a prayer myself before games. And
Yeah.
I always talk about like they have to find like love in basketball, and find like I try to instill in these young men that like it's bigger than them. Like it's not just about like like it's big, like it maybe it's like even like faith in your team, faith in your teammates, like in finding the trust that is not just by yourself. Like I always make jokes like if you want to like be an individual, like go do an individual sport, like go do like solos tennis or something like that, like or go do wrestling is what I say. I'm like, but like I incorporate it, like I'm very open, and like if like young men want to talk about that, like I always will be very open about like mental health or their faith or whatever they want to talk about, because as a coach I can wear so many different hats, and that's why I love coaching. Like I've had a young man who didn't have a father, and I'm not like, and I wasn't as much like a father figure for him, but like I was that adult role model that he needed,
Yeah.
or like an older brother, or now like a lot of them will like, and actually it's funny, like a lot of them will actually call me like uncle, like, and I don't know how it started, but they'll always call me like Uncle Lily is what they'll call me, and I'm like, all right, like whatever. But uh but just being able to like, because being a younger man, like I feel like I can connect with young men pretty easy, and I can relate to them, because it's like, yeah, like the old head coach, like he might not be able to even know what Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook is, stuff like that, like, but but like I'm really cool with like trying to find you know commonalities with guys, and whether that's with faith or sports or whatever, like try to go dive in a deeper connection with them rather than just like keeping it basketball. Because, I want them to be able, like I always tell them, like, I want you guys, like when people ask, like I had a mentor, and kind of circling back a little bit. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's good.
back and forth, is like, he was like, hey, when you, like someone asked like, hey, how's your team doing? Like, do I say like, oh yeah, we did this, we won this kid has this offer? It's like, no, ask me in 10, 15 years when they're, husbands, fathers, businessmen, doctors, whatever it is. So like my goal is to help them not just be great players, but even better young men. And I use my faith to help me do that, I guess. So sorry, I kind of rambled a little bit there.
Dude, keep rambling because it's all good stuff. That's why I love doing this, especially in finding people like you, man, because you've been at this for like 7, 8 years now,
Yeah.
and it seems like you've learned a lot along the way, just in helping everyone out.
I might have lost you for a second.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying, it seems like you have learned a lot along the way, and having different roles of helping people out is really key here. And
No,
one thing that
for
I've
sure.
one thing I've always heard from other coaches too is that connection. That connection is huge. And I was gonna say, they're calling you Uncle Lily. It's probably like Uncle Drew. Are you balling up on these kids, man? I feel
When
like
I was younger, and I was still playing, I would always jump in with them, but I'm a little out of shape now. So they like to, I actually broke my hand from one of the kids. I make them do this toughness drill. We call it heart drill, where they gotta like close out, sprint to the spot, stop the driver, boom, get this rebound, kick it full court, go set a screen, roll, go get an and one, and then kick it ahead, and then they have to go like down and take a charge.
yeah,
And I always tell them I'd never make them do something that I haven't done or that I wouldn't do. And I told them it was like a new drill I found, and they were like, "Well, you haven't done it, coach, so you got to do it." So they made me do it, and they just got to wail on me is what they got to do. And but then I have a 7-foot kid in my program, and I was like, my only thing is I'm not taking a charge on him. Like he's too big. Like he's gonna kill me. And I go down there, and he's the one that I have to take a charge on, and I took a good charge. Like they tell you not to stick your hands out, but I didn't. But he hit me so hard that when I fell, I bounced in the air, and then I stuck my hand back out, so I like broke my hand a little bit. But I think, but yeah, it's it's all about like just making that connection with them, and it's fun. But I don't play with them anymore. I need to get back in shape so I can show them how it's done.
you got to run with it, yeah. But do they know? This is something I've always wondered, and it's a little different program to program, I guess. Do they know like what they're learning? Because obviously, what you're instilling in it is helping them on the court, right? If they have that passion, the attitude, the confidence, they're going to play better. Which I think we can talk about that of how you've gotten the results you've gotten. But do they understand that like that's helping them out longer term too? Do you talk about that at all, or
I
is that not really
I kind of
as
tell
like
them that, like, because sometimes, like, I get frustrated because I'm like these kids are just unappreciative. They don't care. They want to complain. But then I'm like, okay, you're teaching them life skills more and more. Like, they won't figure it out. Like, some of them won't figure it out until like way later. And it really kind of came full circle. Like when I had like I had people come back and tell me like, hey, like I understand what you were saying now. Like I get it now. Like I'm in college. Like or I just like I have kids that are just now getting out of college, which is crazy. Um, and them like telling me like, hey, like what you're doing, like I understand it, and parents are really appreciative of it too because they
yeah
kind of understand what we're trying to get at, and so yeah, like in the moment, I don't know if they necessarily all do. Some of them do get it, but some like later down the road, they all like kind of like, okay, coach is right, like he was right, like they don't want to listen sometimes, but they'll figure it out later on.
yeah? So let's say they don't understand that it's helping them later down the line, but just from what we're talking about and how I know you kind of program and everything, you definitely instill the passion, attitude, and confidence. Probably every practice, everything you're doing. How do those three traits? Because I love those three words. Develop the players as players. Like, do they
Yeah,
come in and they're X good or at dribbling, just all the skills, and then because it looks like you're starting to have some pretty good teams too.
for sure. Yeah, we had a ton of success this year. We actually, my 17s made it to the Elite Eight of the Puma Circuit, like finale, the next finale. And then both my 16s and 15s made it to the championship.
Yeah.
And they actually played. I coach all three of the teams, which I try not to, but some unforeseen circumstances happened where I was coaching all three teams this year. So, and I was driving back an hour between Omaha and Lincoln. That's what I was doing pretty much. And like my 16s and 15s, like the Elite Eights, the Elite Eight, Final Four, and Championship were like all at the same time. So I was like in the same gym, like running back and forth, like coaching them,
Dang.
which was a lot of fun. But my 16s ended up actually winning the whole thing. So they'll like bump up to the Pro 16 next year, which will be really fun. But yeah, so like kind of like going back, all goes back to like the first, honestly, before the first practice, like when we're evaluating guys, like, and when I talk to like parents, like I tell them like, hey, like this isn't for everybody, like, but I'm going to demand a lot of your son, and I'm going to make him a better player and a better young man because of it. Like, it's not one of those where we just go out and roll the ball out. Like a lot of AAU, they don't do like as many practices. Like, I love to practice and I want to practice because that's really where you get better. A lot of my practices, like the first practice, I had them like sit down and like write goals down, individual goals, team goals, stuff like that. And we kind of had a phrase that we used this year, and I'll probably use it next year too, is how you do anything is how you do everything. And in a way, like, hey, so like they're walking, I'm like, hey, you're walking right now. That's how you do anything, man. Anything equals everything. Anything equals everything. And they probably got so sick and tired. They were probably laughing about it. Like they would like joke with me sometimes, like, hey, coach, anything is everything, man. Like, then I'm like, okay, you're right. Like, so but like, so I like doing things the right way because like a lot of teams don't want to play defense. They don't want to move the ball. Like, we would pride ourselves on ball movement, defending, rebounding, and communicating. Like those, we kept
And
it as simple as possible.
I was just gonna say fast, and in AAU, that's not always, especially in
Never.
AAU, that's not always
It's not.
really what they do.
And that's why we had so much success, is because like it wasn't necessarily at the level I wanted it at all the time, but like it was still like other teams were here and we're here. It's not up here where I want it, but we're still up here with all that stuff. And like we necessarily didn't look the part every time or didn't have the best athletes, but like if we do things the right way and play as a team, like it's a team sport. Like if you don't want to play like a team, then again, like I say, go do wrestling or go do an individual sport or whatever it is what I like to like mess with the guys about. But like trying to like when I talk about like passion, like if they don't love the game, like they're gonna know really quick in my practice, because like it's not an easy practice. It's not like a walkthrough. Like we're constantly moving. It's boom, boom, boom. Like not a whole lot of resting, not a whole lot of standing. It's a lot of competitiveness drills, like competing against each other, because I also think that's how you kind of become a family too. And that's how we try to emphasize things like, hey, like you're a part of my family. Like if you need anything, you let me know, because it's not just like individual success or team success. It's program success is what we want to look at it as. And then attitude, right? Like I always like, you always got some people with quote unquote bad attitudes or whatever, like trying to fix that. I don't necessarily fix it, but like help them, like guide them through it. Like, because like, especially when they get older, like if you look like you are in a bad mood or have a bad attitude, like that is so easy for a college coach to just like mark you off their list. Like, and it can not just mark you off the list, it can mark your whole team, your whole program off the list. So
I was just gonna say, there's like almost any of the college athletes I talk to on here, that's probably one of the biggest things they say is if your attitude's not checked, you're not gonna be on the team. So that's huge.
So and I like having like a player led program too. So like sometimes like I let them bicker a little bit, like, and let them like check each other, because it means a lot more than your peer checking you than like a coach checking you. And I have to trust that you guys will check each other when my head's turned, it's kind of like you give an inch, they take a mile type thing. A lot of kids will do that still. And then confidence is something that I always try to instill in our athletes. Like I never want a kid to leave my program less confident than when he came in. And that's just because I had a lot of coaches that took my confidence And you never want to let anyone take your confidence, but I like just try to instill in them as much confidence as possible. Like if you're not going to shoot a wide open shot, then you're coming out. Like, and like they usually it's the opposite. Like if you miss the shot, you're coming out. But it's like I don't want them to be scared of that. Like the only reason like I'll get mad. Like they'll be like, did I come out because I turned the ball over? I'm like, no, you came out because after you turned the ball over, you dropped your head and you walked back. Like you didn't sprint back. Like he's like, well, he's gonna get a layup. I was like, I don't care. You sprint back and try. Like whether he's 10 feet in front of you the whole time, like you still show the effort. That's all I care about. And because like you can control your effort, your attitude, and your energy, and it should always be great.
Hey, we'll get right back to that episode. I just wanted to give you a shout out and give you thanks for supporting the Athlete's Health and watching the podcast, watching the show. And if I could ask you for one thing, is to just share the show with anyone who you think might have found this episode valuable, this whole just topic valuable of mental performance, so we can get that mental performance message out there more, so more people know about it and we don't have that mental problem in society, at least to the degree that we do. Now, with that said, if you know anyone who would love to share their stories, come on the Athletes Health podcast and talk. Any athletes, coaches, role models, anyone in life, send them our way. We love to have people on. And additionally, if you know anyone who wants to have some mental performance coaching, either teams or even individuals, send them our way. Go to theathleteshealth.com. Love to talk with people about this. That's why we're doing this. But nonetheless, thanks for your support. It means a lot. And we'll get right back to the show. Dude, Liam, Coach Woulfe, man, if people are listening to this in Kansas City, I don't know how they wouldn't want to come train with you, dude. I'm being honest. Yeah. So this is because I'll just give you some points here, but like I always hear this of like practice for 100%. You might not be able to give 100%, but then your 80% is your 100%, and it's still usually better than others, which was one thing you said that really stood out to me that others say. And then just your whole philosophy, even like goals, man, because this is what's I'm really loving about you, because you're basically like a coach who has kind of like all the things that I already do, or like that I'm trying to bring to teams to help them out. And you kind of already have like so much of it going, but there's so many coaches that aren't implementing some of these things you're saying.
For sure.
And it's needed, but you're doing it all, which is so cool to hear. And we'll talk about your player development more, but how did you like figure all this stuff out? Like, was it just like, I want to help this kid get here, let's just back a track and figure it out? Or how?
I think like when I first went into it, like I had no idea, like, okay, this kid wants to play in college. Like, how do we get him there? Like I just knew like my own experience of like working hard and going about it this way and that. And like, I think I love to like learn when I'm interested in something. Like my business classes, I didn't want to learn that stuff, but I was in the back watching basketball. Like, so like I love listening to like different coaches, or every coach I've kind of been around with, I take something from. And whether it's like something good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, right? So like certain like I had the GA when I was in college, like he was really good at like X's and O's. Like he's really like, and so like I took a lot of that stuff, like how he interacts with that, how he installs stuff, how he scouts that stuff. Someone else I talked to is like really good, like one of the assistant coaches, like really good at like recruiting and how he talked and like sold your program and sell yourself, like and to have confidence in yourself. And like the coach at Blue Valley Northwest right now, I love how he interacts with his players. Like he is so good at like he doesn't demean them or have to cuss them out, like for them to get the point across. And like, that's something I took, cause I always had coaches that, like MF this, MF that, like, what are you doing? And he's really good at like inspiring you to like give 100%. And then like my coach, like Coach Brown from St. Mary, like he was such like a player's coach, like he'd give you the shirt off your back. Like, so it's like trying to combine everything that I've learned and put my own twist on it, as well as like from my own experiences and stuff like that. And then like the higher caliber players I've gotten and the better players I've gotten, like not necessarily like I just go out and get the best players. Like I love developing players. Like I have a few guys on my team that won the whole thing that like no one else wanted on their team. Like, not sure other people wanted, but like they weren't like highly sought after, right? But like when I see them doing the little things in games and this and that, like that's why I want them in my program, because I think I can help them, they can help me, like all that. And now like the higher we get and the more kind of traction we get, like more colleges are calling. Like I've had more colleges call about like this 17U group than any other group I've ever had before, which is like, it's a blessing. Like, and so like, am I perfect in knowing everything? No, like I'm not like, I don't got Bill's cell phone speed dial. Like I'm not at that level yet. Right. But like,
Yeah.
I know I have a good like network of coaches that I've met, whether through it's like camps. I'm always like hustling, trying to work different camps. So like I worked like the Crossroads camp. I've worked like, so where I met like the Team USA coach, like, and then learning, like having a good relationship with all the high school coaches in the area is huge for me. Because like I want them to be like if a player goes to their coach and be like, hey coach, like where should I play this spring and summer? Like I want to play. He's like, hey, you should check out PAC. We've heard good things, or we've had a player go there before. Like I like Liam a lot. I like what they do a lot. And I have a really good network of guys with me too. So like I have a young man. He's at K-State right now. He helps me with like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, like the recruiting, finding different players that would fit our system, what we like to do. I have multiple media guys. One guy that's been with me from the jump. So like every guy that like on our, like he like makes highlights for like those like high caliber guys to send out to like colleges, stuff like that, which is something like, and I think I do like social media better than any other program in here. And that's kind of what's given me like that jump start to grow quicker in the last 7 years, because like you look at it and a lot of people, like they don't post their stuff on social media. Like that is like the best recruiting tool you can have. Like everyone has Twitter, like every coach has Twitter, like, and maybe they scroll through it, maybe they don't, but it just takes like one person to look at it. So
Yeah.
just stuff like that is kind of how I think we've like really like jump started it and grown in the last 7 years.
Yeah, the social media is just free marketing. That's what I figured out
Exactly.
not too long ago. And just for like the people who do listen, dude, I want to point this out because it applies to building your basketball program just as much as it applies to leveling up the skills of the sport. But you just constantly are learning and building the connections and seeing how you can get better. And that's really just the essence of even of sport. Because I'll break down performance fast too in this. I break it down into like sports performance, which is all like the basketball drills you're doing and stuff. Physical performance, which I don't know if you do any strength or speed or training like that. But then third is like mental performance, and you're hitting that one on the stone, man. And I feel like your teams are just so mentally prepared to go into the AAU because they're more a family, like you said, and they're ready to rock and roll. And you're just
For sure.
developing all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I think like the mental side of basketball is huge. Like next year I'm gonna have like a sports site come in and talk to some of our guys like before the season. Just to like talk about how important it is, because I think especially like there's kind of like that like with young men, like they're not supposed to like, hey, you're fine, like get over it, like type thing. But it's okay to like feel the way you feel, and it's okay to like express your emotions, and that's what I try to tell these young men. And we go through different things like breathing, we go through different things, like meditation, stuff like that you can do as a tool to help yourself. Like some of those kids that like have a bad attitude, they really have a bad attitude, or they like there's one young man that like I think he hates losing more than he likes winning,
Yeah.
and it can come off as like him having a bad attitude. And like so it's like a process. Like it's not an overnight thing, right? Like it's not, and helping him through that, and finding his voice as a leader and doing things the right way is just super important to me. And because I know how I felt like when I was like at an all-time low for me, because like when I didn't have basketball, like I had like basketball was always like that stress relief, and when basketball became the problem, I had nothing else to like kind of go on. So I was like almost like my foundation was crumbling, and like I said, like just building faith, having a good support system around you, having all these different factors kind of help build that back up and find different things to do. Like that's like something I try to instill in these guys, and I never want those guys to feel the way I did with basketball. Like I always want basketball to be that release for them.
So, dude, yeah. And with So with it being the release, and as you were saying this, I was wondering this point of like, let's say that kid who, the young man who he just hates losing, and that can come off a little like he's bad attitude. Or let's say like the players who are developing into like they could be college players, or even just the players who are developing and just getting better. How do you see their perspectives or just like their mindset in the game shift? Because I was just thinking, just like it with your program, if it's accelerating so fast and players are wanting to come in, I feel like it's probably not too many of the kids at the end of the day, like end of the program, who are like the ones taunting and the ones showboating a huge amount. They'll celebrate some. Like I mean, everyone's
Yeah.
gonna celebrate some. But you kind of get what I mean. Like the
Yeah, for sure.
characters, they're good
Yeah,
characters.
I think like going back to like I want to create great young men for the Kansas City community. I think youth basketball
Nice. Okay.
is at such a all-time low. Like I was just in Wichita, and like one of my kids' little brother plays on this third grade team, and like their team doesn't do this, but the team they were playing like hits a three, and they're all standing up like shooting, like pretending to like shoot the other team. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, what? And like and like their coach, like his dad's the coach, and he doesn't let them do any of that. But it's like they just see this stuff on social media and the highlights and the flaunting and the taunting, like you said, and it's like I always tell my guys, like there's always a little bit of jawing and going back and forth, which is fine. That's just the
Yeah.
competitiveness of the sport, I think. But
Yeah, that's just the game.
I always gotta say, like, you gotta act like you've been there before, and like we're it's expected that we're gonna kick this team's butt. So like we don't need to say a thing. Like just point at the scoreboard. That's what I tell them. Like just point, and or like we were playing like in our Final Four game with 16U, like my 17s were jawing a little bit. Like I'll give them that. Like they like, and I'm fine with like again like the competitiveness,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, but like they like this other dude like hits a three and like turned around and like just started cussing our bench out. I'm like, dude, what? Like, what are you doing? Because like there's colleges watching, there's people like here, like, and so we just try to teach our guys like just play the game, don't feed into that stuff, and show it with your play. Like go out there and bust their butt, and just like like at the end of the day, like you went to work, it's a job. I always call it like this is your business trip, right? Like you guys want to play college basketball, like, and you want to make it play at a high level, and you're gonna win. Like you can't go around like, because I always compare it to like like the work. Like if you're in work and like like how you respond to things, like so it's like you're gonna, let's say you lose a client, right? Like what are you gonna do? Like are you gonna duck your head, get all mad, or like are you gonna turn around and go get 2 more clients, or like respond, like get that guy back, or whatever it is, right? Or like if your boss tells you to do something and you're just like, nah, I'm not doing that, like you're gonna get fired. Like that's life, bro. And that's what I tell them, like this is your business right now. Like I'm trying to help you develop you into a great young man. So hopefully when they're my age, older, or whatever it is, they also like get back to the city and help people that are younger than them. So that's something like huge for me, is like just
Dude, all
like,
right.
because
Okay,
like I
well,
tell them like you're representing
can you hear
my
me?
brand and my name, and I was like, I'm not gonna bring you in here to ruin my name, like, or my brand, like selfishly. But I said I also want to help you when you're older, that you don't have a bad reputation growing up.
Dude, you said, well, towards the beginning, well, also you cut out just a tiny bit, but I heard dang near all of it. But towards the beginning, you said, act like you've been here before. Like you guys are trying to act like you've been here before. And then, I mean, everything else you said was gold too. Cause I'm just thinking, man, it's just a matter of time. I was curious, like, where do you see this program going? But I'm just thinking it's a matter of time before this is the only thing you're doing. Like you don't have another job that you're doing. Like this is all
That's
you're doing.
that's kind of what I've been flirting with, like this past year. Like people are like, well, you should try to do basketball full time and this and this. Like I think my ultimate goal right now, like it used to be to go back to college and coach. Like right now it's and like I wanted to like travel the world, but I love Kansas City so much, and I love like this program where it's going. Like I want to make it as big as I can. I want to be a head coach at a high school somewhere, because it'll make it easier getting gym time. It'll make it, I'll be around different players. Like I want to win a state championship too as a head coach. Like like that's goals of mine. But yeah, I want to I don't know exactly what next year looks like. Like we won it, so I don't know all the details yet because I haven't talked to like the director of the circuit about it yet. I know there's like meetings coming up. Like I'll probably have a phone call with him next week. But all I know is like right now is like we're just super like busy on like hey we reached our like like you kind of set like 5-year goals. Like that was our goal. Like when we first joined the circuit last year was like to win it, and we won it in year 2 of it. So now I'm like trying to figure out like those next goals and so right now it's really just about like helping those 17U that are going into their senior year find scholarships, find homes for next year, and then get ready for this upcoming year and and continue to build and continue to like build on the success and for me, and it still isn't like it's great that we won. It's never really about winning and losing. It's all about these young men becoming better players, better young men. And that's what I can't lose sight of. It's really cool. I think I have the trophy. Like, where is it? Yeah, I got it sitting like right there, man. And they gave me like a big banner. I can't even hang it in my room right now. I'm trying to find like a home gym, to kind of host us next year, which would be nice and hang it there. And but we got big plans kind of coming up, but I always got to stay true to my values because that's what got me here, and that's when it was going to continue to help me grow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it goes with business, like with what you're doing, with programs, with the athletes in their sports. If your values are true and if they're good, and you stick to it, and you just keep going, you have that end in sight. Somehow it'll work out. The end result will be there. And
No, for sure.
one thing I always say that you literally like sounds like you took the words out of my mouth, man, earlier. I always say my thing is like stepping stone goals, like get that next goal up to like that 5-year goal. I call it like a mountain goal, but you said stepping stone goals earlier, like just that next step. But it was awesome to hear just based on what you do. Cause what's the like plan with getting kids like with basketball programs like this and with people continuing to try out? And like if people hear this, like I don't know why a parent would not hear this and be like, well, this is the first program I want my kids to try and get on. What's the like cap of teams and like players you take on? I'm just honestly curious about that.
I think the biggest thing, like I think we've kind of reached like our like cap of where I want teams, at least right now.
Mm-hmm.
We partnered with a youth program. So like I won't go down like under high school, which kind of makes my job easier. But I also like we had 8 teams this year. I think like 8 to 9, like 7 to 9 is like the perfect range. Just because like my biggest thing is I would rather have like quality over quantity, and I don't want the product that we put out to be like watered down or different. So like I have a good core group of coaches that I like a lot, and that help me out a lot. That I want to like continue to build this thing with, and to continue growing it. But like the biggest thing for me, like as I grow, is would be to hopefully, like to find like a home gym, because like that's the hardest thing is practice time and practice gym time is to find, like, because they can charge you an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah.
Try to find that. And then like my recruiter guy will do his best, like finding different kids, and he sends me different kids. I actually have a meeting with him tomorrow about it. Kind of like the plan that we want to go about next year. But like right now, I'm kind of just like, this is like I'm taking, like I told myself I'm taking a week off of basketball, but I'm actually going to the gym right after this, so it never stops. But but it's a blessing, and I kind of have to go through like kind of wade through the mud now, because like now that we won it, and like we'll be on the Pro 16, like I've had a lot of groups like kind of like hit me up like, hey, we should merge, we should do something together, or like, hey, we this and this, or I've had like a ton of kids asking to like play already. I'm like, hey, like I don't even know the details yet. Like I kind of like what I'm doing, like how I'm doing it. So I don't know like how it'll work, or if I'll merge with anyone or do anything like that, because like I think if you do things the right way, like you said, like good things happen. So, and I just want to keep doing things the right way and in my way, and continue it to kind of grow. Maybe it grows a little slower, but it grows the right way and it grows naturally. So
Yeah, dude, you're definitely a lot farther along because you've been doing this for longer than I've been doing my stuff. But I can say just from what I've experienced and what I've heard from people further along. Don't give in to those temptations. Yeah, I know you won't, but your values are there, and it's awesome to see what you're doing, especially because you said countless times already on this that you're just trying to help out your community and
Yeah,
grow it, and
for
it's
sure.
really cool to hear, man.
And
Uh,
that's like the thing
like,
for anyone like kind of like out there like trying to do something like like I'm always for like that's why like when you like messaged me about doing this, I was like I love doing this stuff like just talking and whether it's like I think did you say you're just kind of like starting this and like just getting on this like but whether it's you or anyone like when you have like a goal or something in mind like I always tell people like when I was always like when I was younger I'd play it safe like I was always scared to like take risks or do things for myself but like when COVID hit and took basketball away I was like man F it like I'm going for the dream and that's like coaching and like all I can say is like don't like if someone says you have a dream and they say like it's too big or whatever it is like just tell those people like get those people one out of your life like tell like don't listen to like mute that noise but like never like always go for your dream and but like the biggest thing is you gotta like hustle every day right like you gotta
yep.
sit down and you can't take a day off because if you take a day off that someone else in a similar boat is not and you have to continue to work and continue to grind and there's going to be like setbacks it happened to me all the time and it'll still happen I bet like but you have to just stay the course and and that's something that kind of goes back to faith like keep the faith like I actually have it my grandma it's a Bible verse I think it's like 2 Timothy 4:7 where it's like I've run my race I fought my fight and I've kept faith or something like that I might be butchering it but it's like always keep faith and always keep fighting the fight and keep your goals in mind and just stay true to yourself and it'll pay off you know what I mean
Oh
and
yeah.
so that's something that I always like have to say and don't be afraid to fail either because so many kids in this generation adults too are afraid to fail and if you fail then like if you give 100% and you fail then you know what you got to work on right but if you only
Yeah.
give 80% and you fail then you'll be like I didn't give 100% like always give 100% because if you're gonna fail and you get back up and you just keep going.
Dude, that's great because yeah, like just to piggyback off that, because yeah, with COVID is when I like had the idea I want to like try and get something like this going. It wasn't always like with athletes, but then it was probably like uh 6 months ago or so. I was like, all right, when I was almost done with school, I was like, I need to just send it and make this happen. And that's everything that you're just saying. You gotta just go with it. And that's what I was gonna say earlier was that people might see your program, especially now, as they're already reaching out to you, and be like, "Oh, this is a good program, man. Like these guys seem like they're really good. They're winning." But then when they dig a little deeper, they see everything, all the time and what you built to get there, which is always somewhat overseen, especially tying it back to like the highlight reels that we talked about beforehand of like people see the highlight reels of AAU basketball and stuff and they're like, oh, let's just do that. But it's
Mhm.
really the all the other things, the hard work, the fail to get back up that you're talking about that really build it up,
Yeah, there's
which
a
is key.
ton of behind the scenes work and like the coolest thing like winning that trophy getting put in the Pro 16 that's great but like it really became like surreal to me when I have like an alumni group chat like everyone that's kind of come through the
Yeah.
programs in this group chat and I was like an hour away from home after we won and and they were all texting and they're like hey congrats you earned it coach like yeah Unc you did it like all this stuff and that's like that meant more to me than winning it you know what I mean like the dudes who like it made me realize like okay you did make a difference in these dudes lives and it was actually really cool like the first kid that really like kind of like trusted me like kind of helped put us on the map like like less than 30 minutes after we won texted me. It was like, hey, Unc, you earned that. Like, congrats. Like, I'm proud of what the program is and what it's done. And like going from like that, like to all the way up here now, like I couldn't get up here if it wasn't for the people down here. And for them to, be like, you earned it. Thank you for what you did for me, all this, like to still follow us. And that's what it's about. Like, it's not about the trophies. It's not about the sponsorship. It's not about the circuit. It's not about that. It's like, it's about Like, it goes back about giving back to the community and making great young men. And like these dudes are thankful down the road, you know.
Dude, and for the perspective of those dudes, because then we'll start to wrap this up soon. But the people who are down there and like who want to get up there, because I can even say this from what I'm doing to a certain extent. I'm not all the way up there, but I'm getting up there. And as you get up, the people on the bottom or like down there, they're just kind of like thinking, "Oh man, it'd be awesome to be up there." Like, yeah, yeah. But as you climb up there, and then you have that perspective, you do realize it's way more of the, "Hey man, that was a nice move. Hey, that was really cool. Maybe I'll implement that." Or hey, you won. Good work, dude. Like I saw what you were doing out there to get it. Like the acknowledgement of it is there as I think you climb that ladder of success of like what you're doing too, and
For
all
sure.
the people who are congratulating you.
For sure. Yeah. No, 100%.
Dude, that's cool to hear. All right, so I usually like to wrap it up. Well, first off, just so I don't forget, like how can people contact you, dude? Like, because
If you
I
want to
definitely
check
think
us out,
people in Iowa would want to contact you. Yeah, what?
um, yeah, that'd be great. So pacbasketball.com. There's no www dot. It's just pacbasketball.com is our website. I'm on every social media. I'll usually reply really quick. Twitter's at basketball PAC. Instagram's at PAC Basketball. Like that's kind of what it is. If you want to find me, you can just type my name in and it'll pop up as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on and talking, and you know I love this kind of stuff, so it's great.
dude, I love it too, and hopefully the message gets out to people. And but then I also usually ask like any last minute tricks, any last minute things for people to take home, like for that performance in general, obviously, because we've been talking all about the
Yeah, I
mental
think
side
the
of it.
biggest thing is like if you have a goal, just like stop sitting on your butt, get off TikTok, like go out and go get it, and continue to just keep working towards that every day. Because if you're not working, someone else is. You know, I always say like if you live by passion, attitude, and confidence, you put all three together, you can get whatever you can accomplish anything you want, right? So just get out there and go do it, and don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say you probably will have to tie the PAC in with your final message, and surely enough, you did because I was hoping you would, honestly, dude. Yeah, perfect. All right, man. Let me wrap this up with a little closing I usually do, but just Athletes Health Podcast, interviewing athletes, coaches, role models like Liam, Coach Woulfe here, dude. I honestly was very thankful for this, man. You dropped so many dimes on this. This was pretty dang cool because this kind of just I always like to get these episodes out so people can see it, hopefully help their mental performance, help that overall performance like we talked about. And then I always got the coaching if people want it. Like if people are in Kansas City, dude, you're already like implementing all the stuff I do. Like I love hearing this, man. That's good because
Thank
that means the coaches are doing like good stuff. Like the parents don't have to worry. Coaches are doing it, and it's all awesome. That's
I,
honestly what I
I
like to hear.
appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, that's about it. So thanks, everyone.